Good morning, everyone. Here's your Mormon news update for January 30th, 2025. Today, we're going to start off with some news out of BYU. In a remarkable address at Brigham Young University, a nationally respected public policy expert and journalist said that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has developed a modern civic theology desperately needed in American Christianity in an age of secularization, polarization, and dechurching. Jonathan Rauch, a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution, believes strongly enough in what Latter-day Saint leaders are teaching that he, an atheist in a same-sex marriage, spent the past week in Utah asking church leaders and BYU students to amplify the message that he gleaned from the church itself. I read numerous articles about his speech, investigated his background a little bit on Wikipedia, and listened to a video he did with the Deseret News, which I found incredibly interesting. Let's listen to a few brief clips from that video and discuss.
There's a huge gap in American public life, which is that Christianity is pretty good about what they call discipling people, bringing people into the ways of Jesus Christ in their family lives and church lives and community lives. But there's a big hole for civic discipleship, which is creating a theology around how would Jesus want us to behave in our public lives, on social media, for example, and in politics.
Okay, this first part, I agree that there's a gap here. We all see it every day in the news, on social media, right? People who profess to be Christian and believe in Jesus and somehow at the same time justify treating people in ways that Christ would never treat people. Let's see what he says next, though.
To my amazement, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is doing that work. It has a fully evolved theology of why Jesus Christ believes that the church's role is to advance patience, negotiation, and mutual accommodation in public life and address politics in that spirit, and the church has been doing that.
And this is where he veers for me. I'm going to be a little vulnerable and say that disagreeing with a prestigious, educated white man is really scary for me. I was taught growing up in the church that the old white men have all the answers, and I am simply to be devoid of my own opinions and fall in line. Because I'm trying to push back against that indoctrination, I'm going to speak up anyways. I don't see the church in this way. What I see is a church that will do whatever they have to stay wealthy. They kept black men from holding the priesthood until 1978, and then finally acquiesced because the social pressures for them to be less racist were overwhelming. And now they are applauded for their work with the NAACP. Are they doing that work because it's what Jesus would want, or because it helps them escape their past? Let's see what examples he gives of why he thinks the church is leading in civic discipleship.
It did that with the famous Utah Compromise in 2015. It did it again in the Respect for Marriage Act in 2022. I'm gay, I'm married to a man. The church opposes that, yet it helped push through a law in Congress that enshrined my marriage in federal law, along with some new protections for religious liberty. But that, to me, it's a countercultural model of a very different path for American Christianity, one that brings the teachings of Christ and James Madison, the Constitution, into closer alignment.
Okay, yes, the church did do those two things, but they did it after they lost their previous fights to prohibit gay marriage. They wrote the proclamation on the family so they could have legal standing to oppose gay marriage in Hawaii. They then admitted to spending $190,000 on Proposition 8 in California to oppose gay marriage there. They fought tooth and nail to make sure gay marriage could not be legalized, and they lost. So then, in an effort to save face and make sure they didn't have to allow same-sex relationships at church-run schools, they fought for the bills he mentioned because they made sure that religious exemptions were written in. Is Jesus Christ in the courtroom with the church while they refuse to give back tithing money that they collected for charity and used for a shopping mall? Is Jesus Christ sitting with the lawyers who are suing a small Texas town so the church can build a temple with a giant steeple next to a neighborhood in a rural area? Was Jesus holding Jeffrey R. Holland's hand while he encouraged members to take up their muskets against the LGBTQ community? I wish that I agreed with this man. I really do. I wish that the church was being led by Jesus and making decisions based on love and kindness instead of being dragged to the arena of tolerance and then claiming they showed up there on their own because they actually care about people. I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Now let's go to the Salt Lake Tribune for something I see as a little more lighthearted. Sure, the Mormon cricket is just an insect, but that name, frankly, just bugs the heck out of a Utah lawmaker, and he wants to change it. Introduced by Representative Doug Owens, a Mill Creek Democrat, HB 348 would require the Utah Department of Agriculture and Food to petition the Entomological Society of America to assign the Anabris simplex a new common name, ideally one that is respectful, inclusive, and accurately descriptive. The flightless bug, known for its voracious appetite, is not actually a cricket, but rather a shield-backed katydid. And leaders of Utah's predominant faith, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, have invested a great deal in recent years to cast off the Mormon moniker, a point Owens notes in the bill. Owens is committed to the cause, explaining that the problem is in the specific pairing of the Mormon term with an insect many regard as a pest. People refer to it so pejoratively, the Latter-day Saint Democrat said, that it feels like a slur. Owens stressed that historical erasure is not the bill's intent, but that there were other options, pioneer cricket for instance, that could serve the same purpose without the baggage. He said he would also like to see Native groups be given a say in the renaming process. I think that would actually be fantastic. Utah State University Tooele entomologist Joseph Wilson offered his own suggestion. If indeed the name must change to accommodate modern sensibilities, why not, he chuckled, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Katydid. I really do hope they use the suggestion given by that last fellow. Now let's go to Latter-day Saint Mag, where it says the First Presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has announced the open house and dedication dates for the Syracuse, Utah Temple. A media day for the Syracuse, Utah Temple will be held on Wednesday, May 7th, 2025, and invited guests will tour the temple on Thursday, May 8th and Friday, May 9th, 2025. The media day is not just news media, but they also invite pro-church social media influencers to be the first to tour the finished temples. And I'm sure invited guests on May 8th and May 9th refers to any well-off friends of higher-up church leaders, although the article was not specific. A public open house, for those of us who aren't special enough to go through in those first 3 days, will run Saturday, May 10th through Saturday, May 31st, excluding Sundays. The temple will be dedicated in one session on Sunday, June 8th, 2025. The dedicatory session will be broadcast to all units in the temple district. Church President Russell M. Nelson announced the Syracuse, Utah Temple during the April 2020 General Conference. Temples are a crowning part of the restoration of the fullness of the gospel of Jesus Christ, he said then. In God's goodness and generosity, he is bringing the blessings of the temple closer to his children everywhere. God is also, side note, mentioning the vast temple building in a lawsuit where people are requesting a refund of their tithing dollars, saying that the church needs those billions so they can build temples. The temples aren't just for the blessings of the people in them, but a bargaining chip in a lawsuit. Next, we're going to go to MSN.com for an article entitled, Why I Think So Many Young People Are Leaving the Church. Many of us begin to defy our parents at a young age. You may hear a young toddler ask their mother, why? The language of why is something each human is fluent in. Why must a child follow the rules and not eat cookies for breakfast? Why must a teenager listen to their father and be home by 10 p.m.? Why do we lose so many friends as we grow into adults? As a universal human experience, questioning the way things are is crucial for a child's development. If we did not question, we would simply be robots going from one requirement to the next. Is anyone else thinking right now of the phrase, doubt your doubts? That Elder Uchtdorf said over the pulpit in General Conference for the Mormon Church? Because I am. To understand how things work, we must question. To understand ourselves, we must question others. Although parents would like their children to listen all the time, usually a child who silently obeys is a bad sign. This author is spot on. A safe child is a questioning child. I absolutely love that phrase. It's one that I need to keep in the back of my mind when I am interacting with my children, because silently obeying can be incredibly dangerous. As a religiously raised, homeschooled young woman, I am all too familiar with the teachings of Jesus. Love thy neighbor as thyself is a verse which I have recited many times. I've said this in my updates before, but I was well into adulthood and had been through years of therapy before I noticed the as thyself part of that teaching. I was taught to love my neighbor and to be selfless. The article goes on to say, I understand watching young people leave churches can be frightening no matter what sect of Christianity you are from. Seventh-day Adventist, Baptist, Catholic, Mormon. All forms of organized religion are seeing fewer young people stay within their walls. However, I would like to argue that the reason young people are leaving the church is not because you, as parents, failed to bring up a child in the words of Jesus. No, on the contrary, I have read the words of Jesus. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always preserves. She then goes on to say, we are not leaving the church because you did not teach us the word. We read the words of Jesus, and we understood. How, as a Christian, can you pray for the destruction of others? Jesus sat with prostitutes, he embraced the untouchables, he blessed the poor. If I had not questioned why my parents believe what they believe, I would never have realized just how important kindness truly is in this world. My defiance made me kind. What does your defiance make you? I would answer that saying that my defiance has made me a much better parent. It has also allowed me to discover who I am, who I want to be, how I feel, that my feelings are valid, and so many more things. What does your defiance make you? Feel free to leave your answer in the comments. Now let's go to a post from a Facebook group called LDS Wives Anonymous. This person said, young women president here. We are taking our girls to Catalina Island for girls camp. The ferry alone is about $75 a girl. The tent sites were even more pricey. Our young men did this a few years ago, and our bishopric signed off and agreed the girls deserved to do an adventurous camp like the young men this year. Okay, I actually love that. I love that this bishopric is progressive enough that they understand that the young women should be offered the same opportunities as the young men. My camp director wants to do a bunch of excursions, but I've been able to talk her down to lots of free or very cheap activities we can do on the island. We're trying to figure out how much we can ask the parents for. We live in a fairly affluent area, but would like to be mindful. The bishop said none of the girls' families have come to him about financial hardships. What do you think is a reasonable amount to pay for girls camp, knowing this is a little more exciting opportunity? We will do a fundraiser, but after splitting with the young men, it won't bring in near enough to cover the cost. Also, no family will be sending 2 daughters, so they will only have 1 young woman to pay for. I think it's wild that in a church with hundreds of billions of dollars, they are still having these discussions. What do you think? And today we will finish up with this amazing quote from one of my favorite authors, Glennon Doyle. She says, "You're actually not a mess at all. You're just a feeling person in a messy world. You are exactly right to feel a lot right now. It does not mean you're weak. It means you're strong enough to be paying attention. Be gentle with you, please." And that's your update for today, folks. I absolutely hope you have the day that you deserve.